Vought is the megacorporation responsible for twisting the narrative at Godolphin, the creation of soups and a list of atrocities too long to mention. But what would happen if they decided to be the good guys? Now, you might be asking yourself, what would it look like for a conglomerate with a market cap the size of Apple's and the ethics of Nestle to turn itself around? Well, entertain me while I consider a proposal. Vought, rather unsurprisingly, has a wealth of assets and intellectual property that is, at the moment, being used for, well, questionable means. So, if Vought were to turn themselves around and become the good guys, they'd have to just simply use their subsidiaries and products to increase global well-being levels. Simple, right? But let us consider what a possible scenario for doing this would actually look like. Let's break it down by what divisions we know to exist and how they can individually be used for good. First category, entertainment. The dawn of the Seven and all the other shite self-promotional media content they produce likely comprises a big chunk of Vaught's value. With the notoriety of the Seven, the film-related content is likely to be immensely popular, giving it a relatively similar valuation to Disney. However, since Disney also has its parks and isn't all film, I'll average it out with another notable name, 21st Century Fox, giving us a value of $95 billion for Vaught's entertainment department. Taking a profit to market cap ratio from Disney, Vaught's profits here could be roughly $14 billion. Next, we have all the merchandise that Vought sells, and again, taking from our friend the mouse, we will get an approximate $40 billion in revenue, which should equate to around $8 billion in profits. Spicing it up a little, we have Vaught's defence arm that manufactures weaponry and other related democracy-enforcing measures. I thought, why not just combine two industry leaders, General Dynamic and Raytheon, who even feature in the show, giving us a valuation of circa $200 billion and a potential $20 billion in profits. Now, though this may be a little overinflated, it does compensate for what is a conservative estimation of Vaught's big boy division, pharmaceuticals. $500 billion. Yeah, I mean, providing even an approximate valuation on a made-up substance that turns you into a superhuman is nigh on impossible, so I'll leave it at that. The best guess also includes their entire pharmaceutical division, sites, and intellectual property and research. Then we have Vought Petroleum, which let's just say is a similar version of Occidental Petroleum, so $80 billion, with maybe $20 billion in profits in the current oil price. With quite the diversified portfolio, Vought has also branched out into the education field with Godolphin, so comparing that to Harvard, that's another $50 billion in the assets on the books. And last but not least, we have Vaught's wellness centres and charities, so let's just stick $3 billion on this ticket because I'm getting tired of these fanciful valuations. So, all in all, with a company valued at a little less than $1 trillion and profits of around $75 billion each year, what possible good could be done with this? Well, let's give it a go, shall we? Vought Entertainment, at zero extra cost, could produce feature-length documentaries on its past mishaps and resolutions to them, building a foundation for a new brand identity and paint a picture of greater transparency. This would allow for sponsored events with the charities beyond the 4 currently owned by Vought, of which Starlight House is one, further expanding the potential to increase prosperity for the pre-existing media asset. Then we have the $8 billion in profits from merchandise sales, which could be used to pay out settlements in court to all the families who have died as a result of soup mishaps and Homelander's inability to control his rage. Given the typical life insurance policy averages human existence at around $70,000, and that I boldly estimate around 5,000 to have died directly because of Vought, this $8 billion in profit would be the source for a generous $500 million payout from the company to resolve this. The remaining $7.5 billion could be used to facilitate various other legal settlements, like the families affected by Compound V and the countless victims of SA by the Deep and Translucent. Even after all this, Vought would still be retaining roughly 85% of their merchandise profits. Not a bad deal if you ask me. On to Vaught's defence department, where they could rather easily siphon all $20 billion in profits into aerospace R&D, with the prospect of projects like asteroid mining and space exploration. The ROI here is potentially huge and could gradually be increased by slowly winding down the production of armaments because, Vought are the good guys now. The space mining industry is expected to grow by 16% each year, so with all the cash that Vought has, it really has the potential to be a market leader in this space. Food for thought. Vought Petroleum could create a sea life preservation charity, but maybe don't have the Deep as an ambassador for it. This charity could also clean up the remains of all the downed planes that have been caused by Homelander. Whatever cash is left over from the $20 billion here could be diverted into carbon capture R&D to further help clean up the environment, lower the current spot price for energy costs, and potentially even boost profits as well. Godolphin could offer several scholarships in the name of all those who died at the behest of the Woods. The number of potential scholarships here isn't really set, as with all this extra cash and collateral that the company has, the sky is the limit. There is also the option of branching out and even building a preschool, which after construction and equipment costs are considered would come to roughly $50 million, which is a drop in the bucket for Vought, let's be honest. So perhaps it needs to be up to notch. Expanding Godolphin maybe? The MIT Nano building costs roughly $350 million, so let's say Vought does something similar but bigger and better at a whopping $500 million. I mean, this is an investment in the children's future after all. And lastly, we have Vaught's pharmaceutical division and Compound V, for which I propose they do absolutely nothing. Well, not quite. Maybe siphon all research into life-saving drugs, but as far as Compound V goes, let them have it. because suggesting the sell-off or destruction of a multi-billion-dollar asset is, well, hard to actually do. So there we have it. All it takes for a dubious trillion-dollar corporation to turn itself around is $47.05 billion, which, let's not forget, still leaves them with $27.95 billion in profit. This use of profits nets Vought a whole new brand identity, an expansion in education, sea life preservation charities, settlements in court, and aerospace R&D. So with all that rebranding and turning Vought around and making them the good guys, all that's left to consider is my consulting fee.